Real life.
Superpowers.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
It's alive!
Real life.
Superpowers.
So we're here with Chef Guy Vaknin, a vegan entrepreneur, owner of Beyond Sushi, a New York City sushi chain. Guy, what's up? How are you?
Hey guys, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on our podcast. What are you up to these days?
Besides running the business, having two kids at home, being the bookkeeper, the mother, the father, the dishwasher, the motivator, not much.
So you're not much of a delegator.
I am, but it's hard. It's hard when you have. I have almost 100 employees and a lot of systems in place. Restaurants are very difficult because there's so many factors that can happen during the day. If it's the customers, the deliveries, the logistics, running around between the locations, delegating. Sometimes, even if you delegate, you gotta just go and hold people accountable and over and over and over and over again. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So.
How many chains
That's what it is.
does Beyond Sushi have these days? Chains, actual stores.
3 smaller ones and 3 bigger ones that we're running, and a commissary and a main kitchen, corporate offices, marketing, catering, a whole big ecosystem.
And so how did you end up opening this this chain? It's not a very regular type of restaurant, I understand.
No, it's not. So it's a very odd idea and very unique. I worked for my father. I came to the U.S. in 2005. Worked for my father, and in the restaurant business, he had a bunch of restaurants, and then he condensed everything to a catering company. Worked for him for a little bit, and then just like as every father and son works, quit. And decided to venture into this world myself. When I worked in every job under the sun in the hospitality industry, from a server to a manager to a door at a club, and everything that I could, bartender, everything that there was there. I love the industry, but decided to go in the route that everybody goes and go to college. Went to study computer engineering.
Where?
And here in the city, in City College. After 3 months in that world, I realized that it wasn't for me. Couldn't sit on the chair, so I got up and left and went back to this world. My dad, I had always a dream to go and study cooking. So my dad said, "Oh, let me pay for it, and you go to that instead of going to into college." Went to study cooking for 7 months, and as soon as I got out, he said, "Okay, you are the executive chef, and you're running this place." And he had a pretty big company, and I was 23, and I said, "Okay." And came back, did that, lost him a bunch of money. Didn't know what I was doing, and then made him a bunch of money afterwards with a lot of work, hard work, and 6 years into that, decided to go on my own and open this odd and unique idea. It all started in the catering company when we had to make a sushi station. We had a lot of requests for a vegetarian option, so I made a vegetarian option. Checked that out in the New York Vegetarian Food Festival for 2 years. Sold out completely for 2 years, and saw that we have something going on. But when I went out and really wanted to do something with it, everybody told me that I'm a cuckoo and it will never work. But decided to do it anyway by myself. I have a kind of a Cinderella story. Took all my money, took an investment from my dad, or took money from my dad alone. And altogether I had $140,000. Opened my first 12-seat restaurant with a counter. Me and another employee, and basically made it work. I had no money. I opened the restaurant. I had $1,000 left in my bank account, and if I the place didn't work for the first month, I would have been closed.
It sounds like you had a lot of support from your father. It seems like he's a great influence on you.
Yeah, no, my father basically just, he gave me the platform, but I had to work really hard for it. And at that point, he wanted to prove a point. He gave me the $70,000 to open my first restaurant, but he wanted to show me what it is to own a business. And I think that deep down inside, he was waiting for me to fall on my face and to come and save me. But I made it work, so it doesn't. And I paid him back for, under less than a year. And that was great. But I think that thing made the drive in me to go and make it work. And it didn't matter what, I'm gonna succeed in it.
That was a win-win situation for him. Either you fall flat on the face and come back, or you succeed and you're amazing. So how do you present an idea for a restaurant with a unique idea and actually get investors excited about something new in the food industry, which is so, saturated with ideas and so complicated? Because, I don't know the statistics, but it should be really bad statistics for whoever succeeds in the food industry, right? So how do you persuade people to invest in that? And how do you believe, is there still things to do there? Do you have more ideas of what to do there?
Yeah, so it's endless. That's first of all. So you can always come up with new things and re-innovate and do stuff. I decided that no matter what, I'm going to be the most unique, whether it's bad or not. When you're unique, you draw attention. You just got to execute at a high level in the food industry. So if you execute at a high level, no matter what, you'll be successful. You have to think about it. For me, at least, it was, if I'm unique, then I drive certain people to me, or I drive people to come to this because they're not going to go anywhere else because it's unique. They can get in a million places falafel or a pizza or whatever not. Mine, you can get only in one place. And that was the whole idea behind it. Now, it could fall on its face because sometimes, you see these unique concepts and they don't work.
Because they're only a gimmick, maybe.
Yes, exactly. But you have to execute. And people thought that in the beginning. People thought that I'm this, what does he think to himself? But, we made it work, and I opened rapidly. I opened the second one after 10 months and another one after a year after that. And that's without investments. Afterwards, for investors, you have to show proof that it works, and not only works in talk or in idea, that it works in numbers. There is nothing. There is a slogan that always you always hear it: numbers don't lie. You got to show the numbers. You got to show that you actually can make it profitable. You can run it, and the biggest thing for me and for investors is that you can duplicate it. A restaurant is very hard because you can do one and it's great, but then you do a second one and it's not so great. You got to show a model that you can duplicate your restaurant and make it a business, a bigger business for the future. And that was my thing from the get-go. I always the thought process was to have smaller location, one commissary that produces for everybody, and it goes out every night. So I cut the production side out of the restaurant. Basically, every restaurant prepares for service, gets everything ready, and then they go to service. What I do is I do it in one place, and I just send it out to all the locations. So it's a lot of logistics, but you can multiply and keep the consistency and the quality and everything else at a very high level.
Let me understand that for a second. You're saying that you produce everything in one place and then you distribute to the restaurants?
So basically, it's not producing. I prepare everything for them. So when you go to service, when you go to eat in a restaurant, nobody sits there and starts cutting your cucumber or your tomato, or because you'll never eat. So you got everything prepared for you, right? As the cook, as the kitchen. That's the hardest part. And when you condense everything into one, it's much easier because you produce on a bigger scale. So if you produce on a bigger scale, you have lesser overhead. The same people that produce for one produce for the other one. You just produce it in a bigger, massive scale.
How do you know how much to make, though? Like, that's always one of the things that is always interesting to me in restaurants is, how do you know how much food to make? Now, maybe after a while, you know, years, you understand that there's seasonality in night and day. But how do you know?
Yeah. So the one thing that I was good at, and I always done, I came from the catering world, and all we did is off-premises catering. So it's all speculations of what you're going to need for that event and so on and so on. And if you don't use it, basically everything goes out to the garbage.
But you know how many guests are going to come to that event, or at least an estimate.
Yeah, exactly. But what I created in my system is I have very limited amount of SKUs that I use for to make my menus. I thought about the process before I get into making the menu. So everything that I do, even when I write the menu, I think about the process of making it or preparing it for service, or getting everything ready for service. And I limit it to 40 SKUs and 7 sauces, and my whole menu is built on that. And they're used in different places in the menu multiple times, so they just move all the time. It's not perfect, but what I was fortunate with is I had a good following, and over 50% of our customers come back for a second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time. Some people spend, $500 a month, $600 a month in our restaurant. So I was very consistent. So I can tell you by seasonality, in average, I'm going to make this much for today and this much for tomorrow and the day after.
How much waste do you have?
Zero. That's the beauty of it. So every day when we deliver, about 90% goes out, and then the 10% of the SKUs, whatever can stay, stays, whatever not, goes in the garbage. But it's not, it's basically, it's almost nothing. Might be like 4%.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm very big on logistics and numbers and putting everything into the dot. A lot of times it hurts me because I'm so anal about it, and just making sure that everything is the right amount and the quantity that I have to run to the restaurants in the middle of the day and stuff. But I'm very good at it. It's my thing.
Was there like a steep learning curve here? Because it's not stuff that you can just know from the get-go.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's time, and you have to build systems. And today I can just look at our inventory sheet that is done daily, and I can tell if it's off by a number. But it was very simple. Basically, what I did, I cut off the ordering part from the restaurant. So what they have is they have a simple Excel sheet which has a par of what they need for the day, averaging the numbers that I think they're going to average. They enter what they have, and then it spits out what they need. And I have a logistics team that comes, packs the stuff, and sends it over. One of the things about this business was perfecting that, and perfecting the logistics part to make sure that you get to that scale. I mean, that you can do it at that level,
And that's stuff that you taught yourself, or did you learn that from your previous experience?
It's stuff that I think that it's everything was a trial and error thing, right? So I learned as I go, and I always see. I mean, for me, running this business and running anything in business, there's very simple equation. It's you measure and you adjust. You measure and you adjust. You measure and you adjust. Everything that you do, it doesn't matter if it's people, product, food, anything that you do in a business. If you keep that, if you can measure what you're doing, if you can't measure what you're doing, you don't do it. You have to know what it is. You measure it. And if it works, you always got to have your hand on the pulse and make sure that if it works or not works, you're adjusting all the time. You're changing. You're evolving. You cannot stay stagnant. And in that place, in the numbers place, I always measured. Okay, this is what's going on. This is how much they're throwing out. I was very big on the numbers, and a lot of restaurants don't do that, and they get the numbers lost somewhere, and that's why they fail in a lot of places.
And on the Shark Tank, how much investment did you get?
I got a $1.5 million for 15% of my current business and 30% of a company that does not exist yet. but will exist in the future. I went in there asking for a $30 million valuation, which was an exaggeration. I realized that before I went in, but I knew that there will be negotiating, and I knew they're gonna like the product because it's first of all it's good and it's unique. So that's where I went.
So with that investment, what did you want to do? Like, what was your dream to do with that investment?
So the idea when we went into Shark Tank, or the idea still, because we're still in the works, and it's not as you see on TV. You know, it's not like, hey, you got this here. Here's a check. Good luck. Yeah, it takes time and a lot of work and contracts and this and that. But the idea was to take that money and open locations in the West Coast in LA, introduce the concept over there. Over the years, we had a lot of interest from all over the world. I have a bunch of copies all over the world, even one in Israel, believe it or not. And LA was always the biggest one, and people were always asking us to come out and come to the West Coast and come to LA and start this over there. And that was the whole purpose of it, to get the money to invest over there. And of course, on top of everything is the publicity. I mean, publicity, and I told that to the Sharks on the show. They didn't show it, but part of it is that. I mean, you want to get your name out there. You want people to know you. As big as we are, there's so many people that don't even know about us in the city, even though in the community we're very big. So
it seems like you always had an understanding of the importance of storytelling, or at least from what I've read about you, it seems like you understand that it's important to get publicity, and it's important to have a good story. Because I guess you also went and participated in Hell's Kitchen, right?
Yeah. So I learned through that, and again, one of the things that first of all, you got to have a good story. Fortunately, I do. I came from the small town in Israel, and I came to the big capital of the world, and worked really hard at this and other things. But I think that you have to be bold, and you have to have a story. You got to go and tell your story and not be afraid, and make it sound interesting, even if it's not. Okay. Some people will see it interesting. You just got to say it. A lot of times people are afraid of how people are going to hear their story or their whatever, or their content that they put on social media or anything that they do. They're afraid how people are going to react to it. One of the things that I didn't care. I did my thing, and I wanted to show that first I do it good, and I'm confident about it, right? So that story took me to Hell's Kitchen, but even in Hell's Kitchen, I learned from that experience. I went to Hell's Kitchen in season 8. I only got in at season 10, and that's after we tried again. But one of the things that I did is I went to the interviews. They flew me out to LA. I learned from the experience over there. I measured what they really wanted. They wanted a reality TV person to come along. So I gave him that in season 10. It's not necessarily who I am, but I gave them what they wanted.
So what did you give them in season 8 that got you turned down, you think? And that you then did give them in season 10 that got you in?
Reality TV, they want reality TV. I gave them serious me in season 8. In season 10, I gave them a more free me, exaggerated me, everything that a reality TV needs, right? That's what they're there for. However, in the show itself, in season 10, I didn't want to give him the exaggerated me because I didn't want to make a fool out of myself in national TV. So I gave him my serious me. Doesn't matter. Once you're on, you won, you didn't win. You get your foot in the door, and then you go from there. Same thing with Shark Tank. When I told my team, it's reality TV. It's got to be interesting. You got to have a story. You got to make it fun. You got to make it fun in every platform. And this is stuff that I've learned about this business later on. I mean, marketing and putting yourself out there, it's got to be fun. It's got to be something that is not so serious. I'm talking to you about serious numbers and business and everything else. But in everything that we do in marketing, it's got to be fun, and it's got to be entertaining for the viewer. And that's it.
And tell me, what do you think? Like, first of all, are you a vegan?
Yes, I am. I wasn't when I opened the restaurant. but I became one because this world and this community teaches you a lot, whether you want it or not, and you can accept it or not. For me, it was something that I had to do. One, because if you give me butter, butter and cheese and cream, I can make everything taste amazing. But it challenged me to do certain things for my food and for myself. So I learned how to cook in this world. And then, I mean, it became my lifestyle. I believe in everything that I do now, and my kids are vegan. My wife is vegan. So,
okay. So, what do you think about the trend? What's going to happen with like vegan food? Because you talked about in the beginning. What's interesting is you talked about the numbers and you talked about the execution, and then we talked about the marketing. But there's something in between that's bothering me, because I think one of the sciences, the biggest sciences in restaurant businesses, is the pricing. Because what's happening is in vegan, it's actually more expensive to buy, I don't know, beetroot right now than a hamburger, right? So, So how do you manage the pricing situation as expensive as it is, and where's this trend going to be like in about 5 to 10 years? Like, is vegan going to grow?
So I think, and what my biggest approach was from the beginning, is to make it accessible. A lot of the vegan restaurants, I don't want to say pretentious, but they make it seem like it's something that it's not. I mean, at the end of the day, vegetables are not more expensive than meat. The raw product that you work with is cheaper, so you can make it at a good price. If you're a pig and you want to charge a lot for something that it's not what it is, then you charge a lot. I can charge a lot more for my food, and I don't. I think that if I do it at volume, I get much more exposure, marketing wise. I get people that wouldn't try it normally, that are not vegan, to try it. And it's very important. And it shows. I mean, 60% of our customers are not vegan. I mean, they come in for a good eat, something healthy that they haven't had. And it's great. But this is the way to do it, I think, in general, is to do it on a massive scale and keep it real to what it is. I mean, you can't charge ginormous prices for something that it's not. I mean, the raw product is not that expensive. I still hold the best food cost in America. And I don't charge crazy prices. I can charge, my roll is $6.50 or $6.95, You come in, you get a nice 8 pieces. 1.5 of those fills you up. You can have lunch at $12 and you're good.
So, but how do you know that 60% of the people that walk in aren't vegan? Like, do you give them some sort of form to fill out?
Yeah, we did that a few times, and we did that a few times in the restaurant. And you see the crowd that comes in. I was surprised when we when we opened our Midtown location. We get big guys in suits come in, sit down, have their business meetings. I thought that, because most of our customers are women, and I thought that won't happen, but it's taking over the restaurant and lunches, and it's nice to see, and it's nice. And we did a survey. We did it a long time ago, but I think it still holds valid. But when we did this survey, it was 60% that are not vegan. Some were vegetarian, but not vegan.
What's the end game for you? Like, what do you want to, like? Do you want 100? Do you want 100 locations? Do you want to open up more franchises as vegan? Like a school? What's your end game?
I think that if you have an end game, there is no journey, right? So I am enjoying what I'm doing right now. We served over 2 million people this food, and I'm very proud of that. But I think that the future is still, it's still a mystery for me. If I knew what I wanted to do at the end of all of this, I want to keep going. I know I have an idea, I have a vision of what I want to achieve along the way, but there is no end game. I think that like I said, it's endless, and I have 6 other concepts in my head already, menus ready, and I would do them in a split second. But the hardest thing is to build a company to support that. And I invested tons of money into building a structure that can hold whatever I want to do. If it's growth, if it's another concept, if it's opening more locations, if it's here in New York. And then again, you can go and I mean, we're going to do the West Coast, and it could be anywhere around the world. I'm still struggling in the structure parts, right? So building a company and owning a business is very different. And a lot of people don't realize that, owning a company and having a company that runs and moves and grows by itself and not by you, or you are directing it instead of driving it, it's a very different and very hard thing to achieve. And I'm still working on that.
Tell me, Guy, for the entrepreneurs that listen to this, so a lot of people try to decide between franchises or opening up your own business. I mean, more locations that you manage as opposed to having franchisees or people who take the franchise from you. What's your take on it? What model is better for you? Are you thinking about franchising? Why is the model good? Why is it bad?
I have no experience in franchising. My thoughts about it. It's one, you have to do it at a very large scale and to make it a business as the person who's giving the franchises to people. I've had thousands of requests to do it. I never took that approach because one, my product is very delicate. Even me running it, and I'm crazy when it comes to that. Sometimes it's not as perfect as I want it to be. And I can't even imagine if I let somebody who has no experience in this field to go and do it and how they would do it. Owning a franchise for me is just basically owning the fact that you have a job. If you open a business, you open a business. You can't wheel the franchise that you took from someone to a certain level. Yeah, you can make more sales and everything else, but you can't evolve and change whenever you decide. Owning a business and you want to own a company and open a company, open your company. Don't buy it from someone else and start it. And again, it all depends on how much you want to, take the risk. But with the risk, there is reward. You can make a lot more money owning your own business than running a franchise of someone else. That's my take on it.
And let's talk a bit about you becoming a vegan, because it seems like you entered this from a business opportunity perspective, and that it became an ideology along the way.
When I started the business, it wasn't vegan. So what happened? Nobody knows. Nobody. I've said it a few times, but when I started the business, it was vegetarian. I came into this business to open a healthy alternative or concept, or to sushi, or to your lunch, or something fun. That's what I had in mind. I was very, very ignorant about this world and what it is. And 90% of the menu was vegetarian. It was vegan. 10% was vegetarian. I had a few egg products. And when the vegans the vegans of New York heard about this new concept, sushi, coming vegetarian, they all wanted to try it out. So they came out, and I had to always wiggle around. Oh, this is vegetarian, this is vegan. This is vegetarian, this is vegan. This is vegetarian, this is vegan. And it was very hard. And not only that, I had one guy in particular that just didn't leave me alone and said, hey, every day he sent me an email. You got to make this vegan. You got to make this vegan. Every day he texted me. I was like, and he was my customer. So so he was bugging me on a daily basis and really wanted me to make it vegan. And I took a stab at it and tried to make the recipes that had eggs in them vegan. And it wasn't easy, but it made sense, because then I didn't have to tell everybody, okay, this is vegan. And it tasted basically the same. So I said, you know what? Why not? Just let's make it vegan. It was 2 weeks after I opened. It was probably my best business decision, my best decision personally for myself. That drove a very good following, people that basically in the beginning kept me alive, kept me in business. It was very hard to get there. And they took us and said, told everybody around them, and that made the business grow. And like I said, it was the best business decision I ever made. The community supported us and got our name out there and helped us get out there. And health-wise, it was one of the better decisions I made. I lost close to 35 pounds after I made that decision. And then I feel like there couldn't be any other decision for me to make. I couldn't own this and not be fully behind it. I tried it, and once I tried it, I was hooked, and this is my world now.
Let's say that for some reason you decide to make a pivot and go pursue some other type of culinary adventure.
Not gonna happen. I can't even imagine.
You're gonna have the biggest hamburger joint, the next one.
No. I can't even imagine touching. I haven't touched like a piece of chicken or fish or meat in more than 5 years. I can't even imagine touching it. It's weird. I used to be like the biggest carnivore that you can ever imagine, but I can't even imagine. I'm not saying it just for saying it. I can't. I just can't. Have
you become like an activist? Is there something that are you leveraging your business to influence?
I'm not like that. One of the things that my approach is about this business, and I think it's been successful, is I don't preach to anybody. I mean, you make your own decisions. I think that once you try the food, and I can convince you by eating it that it's good. I don't care if you are not vegan. I don't care if you eat vegan or vegetarian once a week. I think it's fine. Everybody makes their own choices, and you live your own life, and you answer to yourself at the end of the day. But I believe that once you try it, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to come back. I have a policy in the restaurant, right? If somebody walks in, it happens a lot because of the name. Some people don't realize that it's vegan, and they come in and it's like, oh, what? No fish? And they're about to go and leave the restaurant. So I have a policy that if you come in and you didn't know, we give them a roll that we decide, and if they like it, they pay for it. If not, they don't pay for it. And that's what we do. That's our marketing niche. And most of the time, 90% of the time, people pay for it, and they just stay and spend I don't know what. So
nice. But I hope now that it's on a podcast, you're not going to have all kinds of opportunistic, homeless people coming in just asking like, "Oh, no fish,"
It's okay. It's okay as long as they look.
Code.
Yeah, it's fine. I think that it's different. Pretty honest people around here, So I'm not worried about that.
Tell me, Guy, I'm going to say this because I don't know the statistic, but most restaurants around the world are not successful. You agree?
I agree 100%.
So what is your superpower and what makes you successful?
I think that one, I'm not blowing smoke up my ass or anything, but I go at like 200 miles where everybody goes at 20 most of the time. And it takes a lot of energy and dedication and sacrifice. People don't understand how intricate this world is. You have to love it. I always say, if you open a restaurant, be ready to cut your veins and let the blood flow, and that's how much it sucks out of you. Don't open a restaurant because it doesn't make any sense. It's just too much work, right? If you don't love it, but if you love it, you might enjoy it too. I just go at it, and I can over the years, and I've learned over the years how to handle a lot of pressure and handle a lot of things at the same time.
But Guy, restaurant business is it's known to be suicidal. Everybody's dedicated 24/7. Even the people who close the restaurant at the end. Like, you sort of hacked the inventory side of a restaurant, which I think is very unique.
The numbers. It's just the numbers. I have the other side that what I am because I'm the chef. right? And I can do the cooking. Most chefs don't cook thinking about their numbers. Most chefs just cook because it's creative, and a lot of times they don't know what they're cooking with ingredients that cost tons of money, and they're pricing their plates at a standard price, not actually understanding what they're doing. When I cook with the numbers in my head. I don't just cook and then afterwards run. All the numbers are running all the time, and you have to do that. And you have to find ways of how you have to be. I always say that you have to be resourceful. So I had a middleman in the middle. One of the things that I told you that because you cook in a bigger scale, now I can get directly to the importers. So I cut about 5 to 6% out of my food costs just because I order directly from all the importers. I don't go to the middleman. I just jump over it. But you got to be able to do it at a bigger scale. And the bigger you go, the bigger the saving on that. So that's one of the things.
I would say it lays somewhere in the attention to details and being very open to feedback and being agile about it.
Yeah.
Measuring all the time, and sort of like the things that we see in other verticals. Like his approach is very much a MVP. So he's very much about actually testing, getting this feedback loop going, seeing how the product meets the actual real life, and then adjusting. Like that's what I sort of identify.
Yeah, so something really cool of him, guys, is chefs are usually the artists. So I can hear that he's an artist, but he understands that if you want to have a business, you can't be a full-on artist. And you have to, first of all, think about the numbers and see what art you can have out of that.
Yeah.
Which is a thought process that usually people do the opposite.
No, it's got to be first that. I mean, how can you run a business without paying people? How can you run a business without paying your bills? How can you run a business without paying your rent? So here, another example. Everybody always asks me, are you organic or are you, local? I can't. If I am, I'm not going to have a business. I will have to charge you 3 times the amount that I charge you right now. Right. It's for me, it's simple math. It's a plus and minus. I mean, you just have to make sure that you're on top of that. If you're on top of that, you should be fine. And you should just work hard, put the effort in and be on top of your numbers, and you should be fine. And be innovative with it.
And what would be your kryptonite?
I am very, very, I have a very hard time letting go, not of responsibility, but letting go of certain things. I cannot walk by something that is not working properly and not say something. And to own a big company, a lot of times you have to walk by and say, oh, you see that something doesn't work, and you say, hey, that's your responsibility, go fix it, right? Or, the manager or whatever not. And a lot of times I will just jump in and do it because this is who I am. I can't just walk by it and say, oh, it's your responsibility. And it took me time to, and it's still a struggle for me to manage that a company as a company and letting people do their job so I can do mine. A lot of times I take over certain things that I shouldn't.
Do you have processes in place where you try to sort of delegate and get the business to scale?
Yeah, there's a bigger issue than that. It's not even about processes. Processes are great. I mean, in companies, there's a lot of processes. It all depends if they're executed and they're held accountable. And there is a. I feel in the past few years, it's very easy for employees over here to just up and leave. I have an issue right now, and this is like, opening up. Oh, my controller. Oh, I'm leaving. Bye. Okay, I found another job that pays me another $5,000 a year. Okay, great. So now you're in a situation. What do you do now? You're not like you have a backup to the backup to the backup to the backup. You have an assistant or this or that. So it's very complicated in the city here in New York. First, it's very competitive. And when you run a company and you want productivity out of it, and the market is saturated with jobs right now over here, it's very hard. It's very hard to keep good talent. It's very hard to, especially in our industry, people steal. Like they'll go and approach your employees in another place and just take them. Oh, I'll give you another $10,000 a year and this insurance and that insurance, and bloop, and they're gone. And then you built all this stuff. It's hard. It's a hard mingle. So this is one of the hardest areas of this business, I think.
Good. So, Guy, question for you. In 1 year time, okay? Like when we interview you next time in New York, what's going to change?
One, I will have another 3 units, and we are pivoting towards the full service side. We have one that is full service, so we're going to go into that as well. So going to have 3 more units, and we're going to be on our way to the West Coast expansion, hopefully, if everything works.
Shark Tank,
and everything is right. Yeah, Shark Tank. And if everything works right? But plans and reality is always
different things.
Yeah, smack me around. So you can say what you want, but life is dynamic. Let's keep it dynamic. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's your superpower, keeping it dynamic. That's what I think.
You think so?
I think that's at least one of them.
Okay, at least I got one of them. Okay, good.
So, Guy, I want to thank you very much, and I wish you keep on giving great new products in the food world, because that's already unique just by doing that, and keep on succeeding in what you do, and giving hope to more people to keep on opening things that are not online and successful, which is really big for entrepreneurs, and especially for an Israeli entrepreneur to hear you doing it overseas. So good luck for you, and
thank you.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you, Guy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Real life.
Superpowers.
Up in the sky, it's a bird.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
It's alive!
Real life.
Superpowers.